We have our two candidates now for the tax commissioner, and we will allow them to give their opening statements. And the candidates are G.C. Gaines and Roger Collins. And we'll start with the incumbent, Roger Collins, to give his 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you, Larry. Good evening. Roger Collins. I am the Ware County Tax Commissioner. I grew up here in Waycross. I graduated in 1985. When I was in 1985, I went to the United States Navy and served for 20 years, retiring as a Chief Petty Officer. A Chief Petty Officer in the Navy is the top 1% of the United States Navy. Just prior to, let me go back up, 4 years prior to retirement, my ex-wife and I bought a business, and then the following year, I was diagnosed with cancer. We opened up another business, like I had anything else to do. So during this time frame, we were running 2 businesses. I'm still in the Navy and I'm dealing with cancer. Raising 6 kids, I have 6 kids. Retired in 2005. Just prior to retirement, I was appointed to the Board of Assessors by Ware County Commissioners. I served there for 7 years. It was broke up back in 2008. I ran for Chief Magistrate Judge. And upon that election, it was unsuccessful. I was immediately reappointed back to the Board of Assessors because of my knowledge and fairness responsibility. My home life, I have 6 kids. I have one that's 32, that's Nikki. I have Nikki Studstill. Sean Howell, he's 31. Lawton Sweat's 30. Haley Jones is 28. Robin Rowell is 23, and Alex Collins is, he's 22. That's my baby. I've got 10 grandkids, 5 granddaughters, 5 grandsons. I don't have too much time left to tell you. But while I was serving in 2012, I ran and was successful in becoming a tax commissioner. And since I've become a tax commissioner, there are many changes to the office. And I'd appreciate your vote, and moving on with the rest of it. I'll touch bases on closing arguments.
Mr. Gaines, you're open statement.
My name is G.C. Gaines. I've lived in Waycross, Ware County all my life. I was born here. I was raised here. I've had my wife 40 years with me tonight, Ms. Kathy Gaines, my daughter Katie, my son Jordan lives in Tifton. He's married to Hope. My son-in-law Stephen Arville is also here tonight. I appreciate their support. What I would like you to do is to consider my qualifications to serve you as tax commissioner of Ware County. I've been a financial person in this community since 1975. I've been in the banking business since 1975. I've represented thousands of shareholders in this community successfully, with proven integrity and leadership, and proven running 5-star banking organizations in this community as the president for the last 15 years of my life, a $200 million corporation. My goals for the tax office if elected are very basic and simple, very important. We will provide personal, and friendly, and helpful service to all taxpayers. I will lead by example. I will run a respectful and productive tax office. I will work with the city and the county and the Board of Education to restore a good working relationship and maintain that relationship. I will work with the taxpayers by providing them all available tax information that will be beneficial to them. If elected, I will continue after the election to maintain a lifetime of proven integrity, solid character, and high moral standards. My commitment to my fellow taxpayers is I will not change. I'm not a politician. I will not be a politician. I will not promise you something I cannot deliver. But I will work for the taxpayers and no one else. That's who votes me in the office if that happens, not anybody else. Thank you.
Just like in the last panel, I want to make sure everybody was clear on what the specific duties of the tax commissioner are. So I asked Roger to give us the duties and responsibilities of the tax commissioner, and then we'll move on to the questions. Roger?
Okay, the basic duties are we bill and collect for the governing authorities. The taxpayers come in we have to perfect the digest for the governments to make sure that they get their proper tax dollars to pay the employees, public safety, and to look out for the welfare of the people. Also, part of the office of Ware County, which is kind of unique, is we're responsible for all timber permits, and we have to bill and collect for the timber permits and maintain and go check if got a lot of the road. I have to go move. But the basic thing is we have to look out for the taxpayers, and we have to look out for the government, make sure that they get their money, and that we protect the government in all their instances. Other than that, I mean, I really didn't want to recite this entire manual, but it's a very intense and in-depth job.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Collins. And now on to the questions, and we'll begin with you, Mr. Collins. What specific experiences do you have that qualify you to be Ware County's tax commissioner?
Specific qualifications. 7 years on the Board of Assessors. I have over 90 plus hours formal training. In the Office of the Tax Commissioner, I have over 250 formal hours of training. I have perfected the digest. Everything's been on time. The collection rates are now, all the previous tax commissioners before me now are over 99.5% plus collected. My collection rate is at 98%. And knowing the tax laws and knowing how to apply, all the conservation programs, all the how they apply to you. I even know how to deal with the values even though we don't set them. But I can explain anything anywhere, which tendency, if I go out to eat dinner, somebody's going to come up and ask me a question. If I go to a football game, I'm missing that halftime, I'm missing the third quarter, because somebody's going to ask me, and I can answer any question you have, with the exception of something that is a value specific, that if my house is worth this much, and if I don't have it, and I'm not looking at the numbers on a computer, if I don't know exactly what I'm looking at. But if you have any questions, I can answer it. That doesn't matter what it is.
Thank you. Mr. Gaines, your response.
8 questions.
What specific experiences do you have that qualify you for tax commissioner?
Well, as I said earlier, I've had 40 years of financial management in the banking environment. I've managed companies of excess of assets of $200 million with revenue of $50 million. I've managed total employees of probably 75 to 100 at various times. I can tell you for the last 15 years, our institution was a top rated 2% in the state of Georgia. We've never had a ranking with the FDIC or the Department of Banking below premium. We know how to comply with compliance. I don't think there's any more regulated banking institution or business or government agency than the banks. Because we get it from the FDIC, the State Department of Banking and Finance, the Internal Revenue Service, the Department of Justice, everywhere. So we've always had a very solid compliance. So interpreting tax laws or manuals, you couldn't put all the manuals we dealt with on this stage, I don't think. So I've dealt with multi-million-dollar assets. The budget of this company, this office is about $700,000. Ours is probably $5 to $7 million a month. So dealing with the budget will not be an issue. Dealing with the number of employees will not be an issue. I've done all that. The most important thing I can say is dealing with the individuals. From what I've been told and my responses in the community, we need somebody that's approachable. We need somebody that really lets the people know they've got their best interest at heart. And you know, it may not always be just at what we're trying to do at the tax office. It may be helping them with an evaluation. I hear outrageous issues about evaluation by the evaluation entity, and I just think it's unfair, some of them, and I guarantee you, I will go to bat for those taxpayers. If I see an unfair situation, I'll help them provide that information and put it together so they can go back and file an appeal. I think too many people don't know how to do that process, and they're intimidated by the government and these government offices, and they should not be.
All right, thank you. We'll come back to you, Mr. Gaines, for this question. What is the largest challenge facing the tax commissioner of Ware County?
The way I see it today is to build a rapport with the city of Waycross. It shouldn't be like it is, but it seems like there's an ongoing struggle about salaries and compensation and benefits for the city of Waycross. The city of Waycross is a vital part of this community, just as Ware County. And even though the tax commissioner's office is located in the Ware County courthouse, you work for the citizens and the taxpayers of Ware, city of Waycross, just like you do the taxpayers of Ware County. You need to honor these intergovernment agencies and agreements that they have. The county and the city are trying to use their assets to reduce the expenses to taxpayers. And as tax commissioners, we need to honor that. But rebuilding the rapport and respecting these relationships and these intergovernment things, in my opinion, I met with Paul Smith, I met with Raphael Maddox. They don't need to worry about the tax commissioner's office. It needs to be back like it used to be. It was a non-eventful place, and when I say non-eventful, they did their job, they took care of the customers, and it wasn't in the newspaper all the time, and the people felt good about the people they went to deal with. And I think we need to restore that. The biggest thing I see is this government, intergovernment struggle.
Mr. Collins, your turn to respond. The largest challenge facing the tax commissioner of Ware County.
Actually, Mr. Gaines was incorrect in a lot of his points, but the largest challenge on a day-to-day basis in the tax commissioner office is customer service and dealing with the taxpayers. That's the biggest challenge, because we have to, I'll have an upset taxpayer come in, and you have to let them vent. Let them vent, because you're not going to get a word in, it doesn't matter what you're going to say. Once we get them calmed down, and you explain to them, this is what we got going on. There may be an error somewhere, there may not be. But once you get that, the biggest thing is the customer service. Because I have a taxpayer coming in, will pay me $2,000. What they have tangible in their hand walking out? A piece of paper. You don't want to walk into Walmart, walk out with a piece of paper. You're going to be upset. That's the biggest challenge that we have with the clerks and myself dealing with the taxpayers on a daily basis to make sure they get the best customer service possible, which they do. My door's always open. There's never been anyone denied access to my office. It doesn't matter where I'm at, everybody asks me questions, including Mr. Gaines when he was the president of Waycross Bank and Trust. He asked me several questions, and I always answered. It was not a problem. There's no one that can come in and say, well, that man wouldn't see me. That right there is the issue as far as the city of Waycross. The city of Waycross and my predecessor, he went, and as far as the contract knows that it is inequitable because it is an outdated contract. The intergovernmental agreement, it was made, the tax commissioner is a constitutional officer. So a city and the county cannot make a contract for that person's service, regardless if it's mine, probate judge, clerk of court, or sheriff's. So we have to agree to the contract. With the city's contract, the city is paying $10,200, which is a salary to me. Okay, that's straight to me. But we are collecting $900,000. It started at $900,000 in 1989, and 2015 is now $2.9 billion for the same amount of money, and they have offered $0 to the budget. And what I went for was money to go into the budget to offset the county taxpayers having to foot the bill for the city government's billing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. And we're back to you, Mr. Collins. What changes would you make in the tax commissioner's office?
The change that I would love to make, that we just right now we can't do, is the actual layout of the office. When the new building's built, there's going to be the layout of the office is going to be more taxpayer friendly. We'll have a bigger waiting area, and the biggest goal I have once we get there is to put a queuing system to be able to allow. We're going to have 9 different windows, so we'll be able to tell you where to go, how to go, and where to get there. Now, the improvements we've already made in the office. The day that I come in the office, I noticed that we was counting money by hand, cash by hand. We talking millions of dollars that come through. So I went and bought my personal money counter from the business that we had and brought it in so we could do it. Now we've upgraded that to a money counter that scans checks and cash, does it all at one time, and we're still working on with the bank to get a inside a secure line where we can deposit those checks without even taking that stuff to the bank. And Waycross Bank and Trust is working on that with us because the machine that we have It's got every top level counterfeiting device you can get. It's the same thing the Brinks company uses. We have that. We've upgraded, we put brand new computers in. Every single clerk in there now does tags, titles, property taxes. They can do everything. You don't have to wait in line for these three or these three. Each one of them can help you. Those computers didn't cost the taxpayers a dime. The training that I send them to, the clerks have never been to formal training. I send them to training. They know how to do this, not even know why. Why am I doing this? Why am I processing this title? Why can't I do this? When I send them to training, they come back, their eyes are open. These ladies have been in office for some 22 years, have never been to formal training. And that's a big key. So my goal is to provide the best product possible to the citizens of Ware County. And that's all. That doesn't matter if you live in the city or the county. And that's what we provide. And the biggest goal, the biggest challenge is going to be the actual space, because that is a confined space. Once we get the new building, we'll have more user friendly.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. You, Mr. Gaines, the same question. What changes, if any, would you make in the tax commissioner's office?
Well, not knowing.
Use your mic, please, sir.
Not knowing the inside structure and how everything is structured, or the structure of the management or anything like that, I really can't make any recommendations of things that I would change. I would have to go through a learning process to know the grid of the employees, the responsibilities. I am a firm believer in cross-training, so if you have some people absent, the show doesn't stop, the customers get begging on. I'm a firm believer in training employees. They do 90% of the work, and we don't. My other comment I'd like to make, that Mother made a comment about the biggest challenge being that of customer service. That's not a challenge, that's a gift. You just do it. It's your nature that you do it, and you instill that in your employees by leadership of what you do. It's not a challenge for people who've done it for many years. It's a gift. That doesn't concern me in the least, how to treat people and be approachable and let them know you've got their best interest at heart and you'll go to bat for them. That's not a challenge to me. I really can't tell you of any changes that I would make. I don't know the personnel, I don't know all the structure. Wouldn't go make a bunch of changes until I got my feet on the ground and saw that it was absolutely necessary.
All right. This question goes to you, Mr. Gaines. What skills and abilities do you possess that will allow you to reduce delinquent taxes in Ware County?
1975, I was hired after 2 years of college as a collector for CIT. I can honestly tell you since 1975, all of my jobs descriptions have been involved in the lending division of banks. I started out as a collector. I had a chase route, and I can tell you since 1975 to 2015, I've repossessed cars, I've foreclosed on houses, I've done all that, and never have I ever been threatened. This is how you treat people in difficult times. My collection experience, my experience in dealing with people with tough times will pay big dividends to the taxpayers of this community. You don't kick a dog when he's limping. You help him along. That, my collection experience, my financial management experience, my budgeting, I work with people on budgeting and debt to income ratios. I know what they can afford, I know what they can't afford. We'll help them come up with a plan that's feasible and in their best interest and not overburden. So the tax commissioner can be very beneficial to people that have problems or hardships, and I've dealt with that since 1975.
Thank you. Right. Mr. Collins?
Thank you. We're already doing that. Everything he just said, that's the standard protocol of the office. We have a payment plan that we'll set up for somebody delinquent. I've had a total of 4 tax sales in 3.5 years, 2 in 2014 and 2 in 2015. The collection rate, as I stated earlier, is 98%. Okay. The previous tax commissioner rate was 97. I believe it was, Steve. I believe that's what it was. And all previous tax commissioners, all 99.6 plus. The only ones that's not collected are people who's under bankruptcy, can't collect them. And then you got people who's passed away or has properties that you can't even get rid of. You couldn't give them away at a tax sale. You could wipe away all the penalties and interest and they still wouldn't pay for it. Then as far as taxpayers are treated like gold. We work with everyone. My goal is to make sure that we can get the taxes paid, not put somebody out of our house. And that's a promise that I made when I first came in, and I'll continue that. I've treated everybody fair. And now I'm making sure that no one is left hurt. Even if we do a payment plan, it's something that's structured where they can actually pay. We worked out there before it. And the goal is to have everything paid prior to the next year's taxes come due, so then they can work on that and they're not overburdened with 2, 3, 4 years. And the first year alone, 2013, first year alone, property taxes, I collected over almost $33 million. With the vehicles, it was $37 million. No other tax commissioner in the history of Ware County has collected that much. Following year, $30 million. And then last year was just shy of $32 million. That's what we do. We collect and we help everybody pay. We educate the public, and that's what we've always done. We treat everyone fair, and we make sure that they still live in the place. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll come back to you to this, and I have to rephrase this question because it came up several times in questions that were submitted. But there's a perception that all taxpayers are not held equally responsible for paying their taxes when due and in full. Several people ask the same question. How do you go about correcting that perception? That some people get preferential treatment?
Well, how do you correct the perception? I don't know, because it's all public record as far as what they pay. As far as collection, everyone's treated the same. Everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care what kind of money you have. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you come from. The laws are laws. I pay my taxes before I even send you your taxes. So we think the goal is, do I have to work with people? I do. And it doesn't matter who they are, I work with them. But everyone pays, and if they don't, then we put the tax liens on. We send them the 30-day letter until the 5 pay with the tax liens. And if we have to send it to a tax sale after you're working and trying to do everything possible to avoid it, then that's what we'll have to do. That's the only way to hold them accountable. But changing the perception of the public is kind of harder because you don't see a taxpayer coming in and paying that $5,000 or $10,000 check. Or even send it into the mail, because we get a lot of stuff in the mail. So it's kind of hard to change the perception of someone if you think, well, Joe Smith over here is just not paying his taxes. Well, if Joe Smith is not paying his taxes, and we go through everything, that we'll end up having to sell Joe Smith's property. But everyone is treated the same. No one gets preferential treatment on anything.
Thank you. Mr. Candace, your response.
In my discussion with a lot of taxpayers in their living room, that I have received that comment or something similar to that comment, and people are puzzled by why their neighbor may or may not pay any taxes, and there's a process that you have to go to explain it. When I said earlier about providing all taxpayers with the available information, there's a lot of homestead exemptions for different classifications of income levels, homestead, disabled veterans, certain things like that. I really believe that the public should be aware of this. I'm working for a lady, helping a lady understand her situation. And it may be that she doesn't qualify, but when her neighbor tells her she pays 0 tax, somebody needs to understand that. And I don't think the Tax Assessors Board have made that information available to people. I think we should. Whatever's available by law, everybody should have that benefit. And you can only change that perception if somebody gives you an opportunity to work with them or explain to them or get the facts for them. But you make and change it, but I think there will always be some of that. But everybody should be held equally responsible to pay their taxes once they've been given a complete, accurate explanation of why it's structured like it is, and maybe why the person they've heard say. And a lot of times people say things that's not completely accurate, and then people get upset. So we can change that perception, hopefully one-on-one and one-by-one, as we know about it and provide them the accurate information. Then they can make a decision.
All right, I'm going to come back to a question on an issue both of you discussed. And I just want to give you opportunity to summarize exactly what your position is on the topic. All right, and the question is, what changes, if any, would you make in the arrangements whereby the tax commissioner collects taxes for the school board and the city of Waycross? And Mr. Collins, it's to you first.
Repeat that again?
Yeah, I did.
All right, what changes, if any, would you make in the arrangements where the tax commissioner collects taxes for the school board and the city of Waycross?
Well, the collection for the school board is done by state statute, which is a 2.5% commission. And we pay over weekly. And I'm glad you brought that up, because if there's anybody here that has any family member who's an educator in the Ware County school system, in the last 2 years, since I've been in office, they got paid before they went on their Thanksgiving break and the Christmas break. And that was the first time in 7 years for Thanksgiving, in 10 years before the Christmas break. And that's due to straight collections. That was to my office, to our clerk's clerk, Ms. Loretta Holmes. She stated, we need a little over $4 million to pay them. We want to pay them before. This is not a problem. I walked in and gave her 3 checks. They totaled almost $5 million. As I was walking out, she was screaming. Every one of the teachers and bus drivers and everybody else was ecstatic. And they actually got to spend money on Black Friday instead of having to wait till they come back to school to get their checks. And that goes the same way for Christmas. Now, as far as the city, I'm currently under contract, and the contract expires on June 30th, and I'm not going to discuss any negotiations with the city until after this election, because it would be a little premature. It could be where I may have to do a complete renewal, or maybe for an extension for 6 months, because I'm not going to bind him to, he won't be bound to the contract. So we're going to wait till the election's over with, and then we'll go back into the negotiations and we'll get from there.
All right. Mr. Gaines?
Repeat the question, please.
All right. What changes, if any, would you make to the arrangements where the tax commissioner collects the taxes for the school board in the city of Waycross?
I don't think I'd make any recommendations to change. I've spoken to some city commissioners, and it came up a few years past about outsourcing the collection of the city taxes, and that can actually be done, possibly be done at a lesser expense than what they're paying now, once you extract everything in their barter agreement with the county. But the city commissioner gave me this opinion: it really would be an unfair situation for a city resident to have to go to the county tax office to pay the county taxes, go to the city office to pay the cities. It's kind of an undue burden on the city taxpayers to have to go pay 2 bills at 2 separate locations. So for that reason, it's combined, it's consolidated. I really wouldn't recommend any changes. I think it's working. As to what the agreement is with the city and the compensation that they distribute to the county, I've met with Raphael Maddox, I've met with Paul Smith. I fully understand the contract. I understand their intercompany or interagency agreement, and I fully respect it. And I told them I would certainly abide by it, and if elected, I would abide by it for 4 years. You wouldn't hear from me about any adjustments, any raises, any changes in commissions. It's done. It's over. And I think that would make a lot of peace. And then, like I said, the county commissioners and the city commissioners, they've got so much on their plate. They can worry and concentrate their efforts on more important issues to deal with the tax commissioner and its compensation.
No, we'll go with our closing statements, okay? You say what you want in your closing statement, all right? And we'll begin with you, Mr. Collins.
Well, first off, what he said about the city commissioner, that came out of my mouth when we was negotiating the contract. But, and also for them to outsource it, when they brought in the companies, we proved it was going to cost them almost $96,000 after they filed the 5As and paid for everything else. So we'll go ahead and move on. I want to thank the Keystone voters for allowing us to come here, Coastal Pines for providing the facility, Mr. Gass, everybody in the audience, the Friends of Oaks Kentucky Humane Society that showed up, they get involved. The last 3.5 years, well, almost right at 3.5 years, we have made huge strides in the office. The former local government services revenue commissioner sent me an email and told me that if she could name a new tax commissioner of the year, it would have been me. I get calls from every tax commissioner in the state of Georgia. Everyone wants to know how to do this and how to do this. How do we do this? What about this? And these are people who've been in office for years. I know my job. I'm like a sponge. I believe knowledge is power. If you get the knowledge, I can give it to you. If you want to ask any questions, I can answer it. If you want somebody to work for you, that's me. If you want to approach somebody, regardless of where we're at, if we're eating supper, if we're at a ball game, if we're at church, I get it all the time at church. I always tell them, just wait till it's over. You can come and approach me and ask me a question, and I will take the time to answer it. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you come with holy clothes on. I will be the one there. I am a public servant. 20 years in the Navy. I have supervised over 850 people at one time. Over 850. I have dealt with multi-million-dollar budgets. I've been responsible. I was the chief over 3 engine rooms on a carrier and the catapults launching planes. I know the word. I know the things about responsibilities. I multitasked. Ran 3 businesses. Was in the Navy. Raising 6 kids. All at the same time. And if you want to continue service, the best service possible that you can get from anywhere in this county, I ask you for your vote. Vote early, vote often, vote cautious.
Mr. Gaines, your closing statement.
Roger, I must say myself, that's pretty good. Mine's real simple. I'm going to go back to my opening comments. If elected, my principles are very basic. Provide friendly, personal service to all taxpayers. Lead by example. Have a productive tax office. Work with the city and the Board of Education and the county. Work for the taxpayers by providing beneficial information from whatever source they need. And continue after the election to maintain my lifetime of proven integrity, solid character, and high moral standards. My commitment to the taxpayers is I will not change. And I'll make this other comment. I'm not a politician. I will not promise you something I cannot deliver. Thank you. Thank you to the Keystone voters for having this. I think it's a very beneficial thing for everybody involved. I think they've done a good job. Thank you to Coastal Pines for allowing us to use the facility. Thank all y'all for coming out and listening. You ought to try being up here sometime. It's a little different. But anyway, thank everybody. Thank Roger. I appreciate Larry and everybody. Have a good evening.
Let's give a round.